Okay guys, welcome back to my channel. I want to do a quick tabletop review or talk about this FNS-9 by FN Firearms, and just give you some of my thoughts about it, and kind of give you some reasons why this gun is sort of sentimental to me, and tell you the backstory on it. So several years ago, this had been probably 6 years ago, I always was interested in the FN. This was back before I can kind of ever accumulate enough money to buy some of the nicer firearms or pistols that I have today, and now I finally have the chance to kind of delve into some a little bit more expensive guns. But this was back when I could only afford maybe to pick up one gun every 2 or 3 years, and $400 or $500 was kind of hard to come up with. I still owed a mortgage and things like that, and so firearms like this were kind of even hard for me to obtain. But I always saw this in the case when I go to Academy Sports and stores like that. I sometimes see these guns, and I was always interested in them, but they were just a little bit too expensive, and I didn't know enough about them to actually purchase one like this. Well, me and my brother, who's now deceased, we had went to Academy together, and we looked in the gun cabinet, and we saw this gun sitting there, and it had a clearance tag on it, and you couldn't really see what the price was, but when we got in to pull it out, we noticed that it was, I think it was $239.99. So $239.99. I think the normal price was like $580 or something like that, the retail or the normal Academy price. And little did we know that about a year later the FN-509 would come out, and you know they did the 509 with a military contract to try to get a military contract when the Glock 17 and all that came about. But so that was kind of the story behind this, is they had clearance these, I think, to get rid of some of the stock, because they had a large stock of them, and they wanted to clear them so they can get the 509 out. And I wanted to kind of go over some things about this gun, and in some ways this gun is even better than the 509, I think, in some ways. That may not be too many ways, but I think there's some ways this is better, in some ways the 509 is better. But for $240, it was a heck of a deal. I think I got the last one at our local Academy, and my brother called and went and purchased one about 30 minutes from our Academy and another Academy close by, and we both got this particular gun for $240 that day, and we was really excited because neither one of us could afford much more than that, and so that was a heck of a deal for us at that time, and it was something we couldn't do normally, but we got to do it that day because it was such a good deal. We could actually have turned around and made money off these guns eventually. So that was pretty cool to get the gun for that price, and it's definitely worth way more than that, even today, by today's standards. I think it's worth way more than that. But it's sentimental to me because my brother's gone, and I always remember that story, that how we got excited and talked about it, and he looked for other stores to see if they had it, and we couldn't believe what a good deal. This is probably one of the best gun deals I've got on a new firearm. I've got some pretty good deals on some used firearms, but I've never got this good of a deal on a new firearm in the box. It's never been shot before. So we was real excited about that, and it's a story I'll always remember spending with him, and having a good day that day, and going to the range and shooting it behind the house. After we got it, we both got to shoot it, and it was just a really good time. And just those little memories, well, now that he's gone, those things are important to me, so I really do enjoy the thought of that when it comes to this firearm. But that's kind of the backstory on this and how I purchased it. So I got it for less than half price at Academy, and that in and of itself makes it kind of a cool gun for me. But yeah, this is a gun. Let's get into this kind of what more subjects on this particular gun. But this gun is very much like the Glock 19X, and this is before the 19X was ever thought about, I think. This gun was manufactured before the 19X was ever thought about. So it's got a 17 round full-size grip, a slight built-in magwell, flared magwell. It's got more of a 1911 grip angle than the Glock, which I kind of like because I'm used to 1911s. I'm not used to that real aggressive Glock angle. It's got really nice grip serrations. I really like the grip. Even the texture up here, although it's kind of smooth, it's still got some kind of texture to it, so it's not too bad. Slick, and it's got really good texture on the front, back, and sides, especially the back and the sides. The front's a little lacking, but it has these lines, and they do pretty good up and down, giving you texture up and down for your hand sliding up and down like that. But let's talk about some things that make this cool, even compared to a Glock or some other guns. It does have your pick rail. It has One thing that Glock didn't have at this time is front serrations, and I think that makes this gun better than a Glock 19. It also has more flare visually, especially with the stainless steel. I think it's beautiful with the stainless steel. It's a heck of a deal for this price with stainless steel. And it also has these kind of cuts and designs on it that makes it, to me, more aesthetically pleasing than a Glock. Really neat looking. Has really nice sights, metal sights instead of the plastic that Glock comes with. It has the bore axis pretty close to a Glock. I mean, there might be a slight higher bore axis than a Glock, but it's very close in the way it feels and presents, and even the way you come on target with as a Glock. The front did have just a metal white dot. I happened to just make my own fiber optic out of the metal sight that come on it, and because that's kind of what I prefer, is to kind of have a blacked out rear with a front fiber optic. So I did that. Some advantages that this does have over the Glock. Well, one thing let's talk about before I forget, this one came with 3 magazines instead of your normal 2 that most guns come with. So not only did I get more than half off for this gun, I got 3 magazines. So if I want to take this to IDPA, I don't even have to purchase another magazine. So that made it a great gun for a carry piece or whatever, shooting at the range. You know, you have 3 17-round magazines it comes with. Most guns that you buy under $300 are only going to come with 1 magazine, but this one came with 3. Just an excellent deal in that regard. It's been 100% reliable. I don't think I've had any reliability issues. Another thing that makes it, to me, better than a Glock is, well, it does have a slightly better trigger than the Glock. Even though it's kind of like the M&P hinged, it's a little bit better than M&P's designed as far as the hinge. The hinge barely moves, and so to me it makes it a little bit better than the M&P in that sense. But it does have a little bit of pre-travel, and it has a smooth brake and 0 over travel. It also has a really short reset, I think even a little bit better than a Glock. And it's right there on the reset and right there on the wall, and it brakes, no over travel. So really smooth and crisp trigger. A little heavier than some of the guns I'm used to, but still pretty light. Still a nice trigger. Another thing also that it has that, you know, some of the Glocks at this time did not have. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt they didn't have this at the time. It's fully ambidextrous, so it does have not a reversible. It has a full ambidextrous slide release. Slide release and mag release, I should say. So the mag can be dumped from either side. And this, one thing negative I could say is when I first got it, this was stiff, but after just shooting a few rounds through it and playing with, practicing with this a little bit and dry fire, these things really smooth out, and now it drops free really easy. The slide release works really well from both sides. As you can see, it's ambidextrous as well. So a full ambi gun for under $250. Now you can't get it even today. If you found one of these used, you probably couldn't get it for that price. But yeah, it was fully ambi for under $250 with stainless top, metal sights, and 3 magazines. I mean, a super deal. Now, the one negative thing for me is I like carry optics, or I like to have red dots on my pistols now, and I've become super accustomed to them. So this one does sit in the safe most of the time, but one thing I'm kind of reserving this gun for, not only is it sentimental, so I'll probably keep it forever, but I'm thinking about one day, and just even because it's a gun me and my brother both got the same day, I'm thinking about shooting an SSP at IDPA. And those of you know that you can't shoot carry optics. It's a different division, and this gun you can shoot with 15 rounds at IDPA instead of 10, so it makes it a little different. And this is probably the gun I would choose to do that. I think it would fit that category really well, and it would be a good gun for that because of the pretty nice mag well and having the 3 magazines. It would do good in that division. Another thing I like about this over the Glock is, I will say, I think this is even lighter. I don't want to tell you guys wrong, but you can look up the specs of the Glock online, but I'm going to give you the weight of this gun with the magazine. And I'm pretty sure that this gun might be an ounce or 2 lighter than a Glock 19X. Let's say a 19X. It may be lighter than the 19, but this is 1 pound, 8.7 ounces. So it's 24.7 ounces. 24.7 ounces, and if I'm not mistaken, that is lighter than the 19X with a magazine. I may be wrong about that. Maybe I am wrong. But I know it's extremely light. Definitely the slide is lighter, so you get more weight in the base. You might have more weight in the base, but the slide is lighter than the Glock 19s, which actually makes it probably recoil a little better in some regards. But yeah, I'd have to look up the spec to know that for sure. And y'all correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, this is 1 pound, 8.7 ounces. So you got 24.7 ounces with the magazine in there. Let's do a quick trigger check. Talk about that real quick. Let's see if I can get a good trigger pull on this. So that was 4 pounds, 7.1 ounces. Now this gun has had a little bit of trigger work done by me, but nothing like, I didn't spend no money on springs or anything. It just has a little bit of polishing and doing a few little things with the trigger to make it a little bit crisper, a little bit lighter. I think it came in right at around 6 pounds or 5.5 pounds new. And there, as you just saw, it was 4.7 pounds. Okay, I think I pulled that one too hard. Let's do it again. Try this one more time, because I know it's lighter than that one showed. These trigger gauges, you have to be kind of careful about over pulling. Okay, that one's 5 pounds 6 ounces, but I do think the first one is more reminiscent of what it feels like. And because these striker fire guns, their triggers are a little bit more, they're more like a pre-cocked double action. Triggers are kind of harder for me to get a good accurate reading with a trigger gauge unless you really take your time. But on video it's kind of hard to do that. But yeah, it's about a 5 pound trigger, a little less. It feels a little bit less, but it's got a really nice trigger. One of the negatives, I guess I could say, if it is a negative, I don't think it is, because in most people's cases it doesn't even matter. It does have a real thin profile barrel compared to the Glocks and the CZs and some of the other striker fire guns, but they use really high quality materials. I don't ever see that being a problem. If you're not firing 200 rounds at a time, I don't see why that barrel won't last you 30,000-40,000 rounds as is. The gun is extremely, and I will say this as a positive note, this gun is one of the most tight put together polymer striker fired kind of high production guns I've ever seen. Because when you rack the slide, you know, most striker fire guns, you rack the slide and it just pops right open. There's actually like tension right there. Like you have to actually pull to break that lockup. There's definitely more lockup there. Like it's snug right there where the barrel locks on this. It's very, very snug, very, very tight. The barrel is extremely tight. I mean, you really have to really pull on it to do anything. The slide is extremely tight to the gun. It's not like a Glock. You don't get that rattle at all, if you can see that, and that's really nice on a striker fire gun like this. Well guys, I'm making this video too long. I just wanted to cover some simple basics about the gun and kind of show y'all some things. But if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Please like and subscribe. That really helps me do videos like this and helps me with the channel. If you need anything, or just please let me know in the comments below. And yeah, I really like this gun, and I'm just thankful to have it in my collection. And I hope you enjoy kind of the backstory and sharing about my brother, who now I can no longer experience days like that with him. So little things like this it's kind of nice to have in my collection to remind me of him. So God bless. Y'all have a great day and take care, and I hope you enjoyed the video.